What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. Today we're talking about the new Holo Taco Cookies and Creams collection. But before we get into that, if you haven't heard of Holo Taco before, they are a nail polish brand created by YouTuber Cristine of Simply Nailogical, and all of their polishes are 10 free, meaning they are free of 10 of the potentially harmful ingredients that can be found in nail polish. They are vegan, meaning they do not use any animal derived ingredients, and they're also cruelty free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. So they just released 7 new ice cream inspired nail polishes, 5 of which are a cream finish, and then we also have 1 shimmer and 1 topper. And to be honest, I'm a little curious what people are gonna think of this topper because it is a black speckled topper, and a lot of you in my community seem to not be a fan of black flecks on or in nail polish. So definitely curious to see what people think of it, but let me show you the swatches first, then I can give you my thoughts on it. We can talk about pricing, availability, all that good stuff. So roll the swatch footage. So as with all of my swatch and review videos, I am using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today I'm using the Orly Bonder base coat. I'm going to start off with the only shimmer of the collection. This one is called Milky White Shimmer, and this is a very interesting choice to come from Holo Taco. This is a sheer white base that has a silvery white shimmer running throughout, and you can see it's a little bit patchy until you get it to the correct coverage. You still get a touch of visible nail line once it's fully opaque, but in 2 coats I just found there were some areas that were a little bit more filled in than others, so I ended up doing a 3rd coat, and in that 3rd coat I think it ended up looking pretty smooth across the nail, and I still got that touch of sheerness, that sort of milky look that they were going for. I was definitely surprised to see this one in the collection, and to be honest, I wasn't totally sold on it at first. I personally really like sheer polishes. I love an intentionally sheer look, but I did find that this one was a little tricky with application. I had to be super careful to do as few brush strokes as possible, so I wasn't a huge fan of that because it was easier to make it look a little bit patchy, which I didn't want to happen, but I did change my mind a little bit later, which I'll talk about when I show it with the topper. Now let's move on to the cream finishes. This first one is called Butter Me Up, and this one is a super light pastel yellow cream shade. So you can see it's got this like almost white coloring to it, but there's just that beautiful little tinge of yellow in there, and it had a really nice formula. It was a little bit on the thicker side, but it was still pretty easy to apply, and I found in 2 coats it wasn't quite there for opacity, so I ended up doing a 3rd coat for full coverage, which I think is actually pretty standard when it comes to yellow nail polishes. For whatever reason, I find them to be just less opaque in general than other shades, so I don't mind this one being a 3-coater. I think it's just a classic springy, Eastery sort of shade, so I thought it was cute. Next up we have the shade Sweet Tooth, and this one is a similar shade in a pink version. So we've got this super light pastel pink cream that almost verges onto white, but it's got a little tinge of pink in there, and this one I actually found the formula to be even easier to apply. It was very smooth, very self-leveling, and I did end up getting full coverage in 2 coats, but if you have longer nails you might need a 3rd for this one because it is a pretty light shade. And again, it's just a very classic springy Eastery kind of color. Personally, I don't usually reach for shades like this, but I did think that it was pretty cute within the color story, so I like this one as well. Next up we have the shade Peri-social, and this one is a periwinkle cream shade, and this one I was absolutely wowed by. It's just a really beautiful pastel kind of periwinkle shade, but it has just enough vibrance to it to look like a brighter shade on the nails, and the formula on this one was incredible. It was actually almost 1 coat coverage on me, and more opaque shades like this I always think would be so incredible for nail art, so I was really excited about this one. It's such a beautiful shade. Again, perfect spring vibes, but I feel like I could make this work any time of year. And next we have the shade Ginger Snatched, and this one is a very red toned medium brown cream shade. Again, really nice opacity here. You could see it was almost 1 coat coverage, which which I thought was really nice. It did dry down very slightly darker than it looked in the bottle, but it's still a really beautiful shade. And I think I've talked about this recently, but I love nude and neutral colors this time of year. For some reason, that's just the kind of palette that my mind goes to for spring. So I was really excited to see a couple options. We've got this one, and then we've got the next shade, which is another brown. So I really like both of these. And the final cream finish of the collection is this one, Brownie Points. And like I said, this is another brown cream, but this one is a deeper brown. And honestly, this is exactly the color of brownie batter to me. So I really love that. It's super, super glossy. I did need 2 coats for full opacity, but the formula again was really nice and smooth, very self-leveling, and it's just a beautiful nude kind of shade to have for this time of year. Again, I found this one to have a very strong red undertone, and it did dry very slightly darker than it looked in the bottle, but it was still a really gorgeous shade. And finally, we have what I personally think is the most exciting polish of the collection. This is the topper. It's called Black Flake Taco, and as the name suggests, we have black matte flakes in there that are varying in sizes. We've got some really teeny tiny little flecks all the way up to some medium and even larger flakes, and they're all these really cool irregular shapes. So it looks really beautiful. It definitely gives a speckled sort of vibe on the nails. And what's cool about toppers like this is each nail looks very slightly different from each other, but that topper still gives your manicure really nice cohesiveness. So I really enjoy that. I know that people are not huge fans of black flakes. It's one of the most common comments I see when I use a polish that has black flakies in it. And I think that's really interesting because personally, I love it. Some of these cream finishes I probably wouldn't wear on their own just because I'm not a huge fan of typical spring colors. But once I put the topper over them, I loved them so much more. So I really love a black flaky topper. I was really excited to see them include this in the collection. And for the most part, I think it looks really great over every color. I think it just gives a really cool speckled look. Over the lighter shades, it definitely looks like a little bird's egg kind of vibe, but over the deeper colors, it can look a little bit like chocolate chips. The only thing I will say is the final brown shade, Brownie Points. It was very hard to see the black flakies over it, so I probably wouldn't pair those two together, but I do think it looked beautiful over all of the other colors in the collection. Now, over the white shimmer, I actually loved this combination. It was definitely giving me a cookies and cream sort of look, which I thought was so cute. And when I was thinking about it, I realized that that shimmer is so sheer, it could probably be used to layer over the topper. So I decided to try that just as a little experiment. And I was so pleased to see that it worked. So I just love a little jelly sandwich. And I think that this base is sheer enough that you can actually make it work. So I kind of want to experiment using this in jelly sandwiches with other toppers just to see if I like it a little bit more. So I ended up actually kind of liking that shimmer. And now here's a look at all of the polishes together. So we definitely have some very typical springy vibes here that normally I don't usually love. Specifically, the yellow and the pink are just shades that I normally wouldn't reach for, and I probably wouldn't wear them on their own just because I personally don't like them. But I will say the formulas were really good and the colors are pretty. But I do think that having that black topper really transformed them in my eyes, and I think it made them a lot more interesting. So I think I probably would actually wear them with the topper, which I think is super fun. And like I said, I had a little bit of a mixed thought on the shimmer, but I ended up warming up to it once I saw the experimental possibilities of it. And of course, that periwinkle, so stunning, such a good formula, and I really love the browns of the collection as well. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about these. So those are the polishes, and like I said, I really enjoyed these. I love the color story. I think it's just perfect for springtime. I think the inspiration is really cute, and I love the pairing of all of these creams with the topper. I think they all just go together really nicely. And even though it does seem like black flakies are a bit controversial for nail polish, I personally love them. I think they look so cool. I think especially over these types of almost neutral kind of colors, it definitely gives a little bit of like a speckled egg vibe to me. So I really like that. I also think it's really fun to experiment with layering and doing like jelly sandwiches and that sort of thing. So I'm really pleased with it, and I do think that the topper looks really beautiful. As far as the shimmer, I have to admit I was really not sold on it at first. I think that it's just a little bit patchy on its own, but I was definitely won over once I saw it with the topper over it, because I do think that's a really beautiful combo, and I'm also really excited that it is sheer enough that I can do a jelly sandwich with it. So it's nice to have that layering option, so for that I do appreciate it. So now let's get into pricing and availability. All of these polishes are available now on the Holo Taco website. They all come in 12 milliliter bottles, and they do all have the wide flat brush that has the rounded tip, which I definitely appreciate. I think it makes application a lot easier. As far as pricing, the cream finishes retail for $12 USD each, but the shimmer and the topper retail for $13 USD each. So I'm gonna link all of that down in the description. You can check them out if you're interested, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on these. What do you think of the polishes? Which color is your favorite? What do you think of the color story? And definitely let me know what you think of that black speckled topper. So leave it all in the comments. We can chat about it. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe. I put out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And of course, a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon, my royal astronomer Amanda M, as well as my cosmic admirals Paula, Ken, Rosie, and Angel. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's fun fact question comes from Patreon supporter Caroline, and Caroline wants to know, if your car suddenly had to be wrapped in some kind of pattern or design, what would you choose? For example, chevron, leopard print, etc. Also, in what color? So I'm not gonna lie, I actually really love having a very basic, not nice car, mostly because I feel like it just kind of blends in and flies under the radar. I definitely don't like to stand out, especially on the road. So I'm hoping in this situation, other cars also have to be wrapped and have patterns on them. But I guess it would be really cool to have like a classic checker pattern. Honestly, actually, now that I think about it, this is so cheesy, but if everybody had car designs and I had a car design, I would want mine to be flames, because then it's like, zoom. Why does that sound so lame? I don't know. But like, imagine just like flames going down your car and like getting deeper and darker in color as they go back. I think that would be actually pretty cool. I don't know if that counts as a pattern though. But if that doesn't count as a pattern, then I choose checkers. I think a cool checkerboard pattern in just like a classic black and white would be very cool. But if anybody wants to share their ideal car design, leave it in the comments. Or if you do actually have like a cool design or color on your car, also let me know. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.